Hi, my name's Mackenzie, and fun fact about me, I can explode things with my mind. If you're unfamiliar with the MLM business model, short for multi-level marketing, you might be familiar with doTERRA, Mary Kay, Beachbody, or Amway, just to name a few of the over 1,000 MLMs in the United States. If you're still not sure what I'm talking about, you might be a man, as 75% of people in these companies are women. MLMs have been in the States for over a century, one of the oldest being Avon, which started as a California perfume company in 1886, which is crazy. Avon was the first multi-level marketing company that I was interested in. I joined Avon as a freshman in college. I was looking for part-time jobs, and I found an online ad for a position as an independent beauty consultant where you can make a commission selling cosmetics. And being a fan of makeup, I thought it sounded awesome. I met up with some lady at a grocery store and quickly signed up under her team. I proceeded to sell to no one and only bought a few things for myself. I didn't think about the fact that my network was poor college students who were trying to decide between buying groceries and buying eyeliner. The products themselves were good quality, although a tad overpriced. But after realizing I was not going to make any money, I quickly lost interest. And I luckily never got roped into another MLM, although many of my friends and family have. There is a lot of anti-MLM content on YouTube, and I've been following some of them for a while now, as they help educate and expose the shadiness of MLMs. If you're curious, I recommend channels such as Savannah Marie, Chelsea Suarez, or Jessica Hickson, just to name a few. They all make really good content on that topic. The only thing I feel that I can really add to the conversation is how many religious people, mainly Christians, tend to get sucked into these companies. And I wanted to figure out why. I'm not hating on Christianity in this video, I am simply asking a question and trying to answer it to the best of my ability, as I was a devout Christian for most of my life. The MLM business model is also sometimes referred to as a pyramid scheme, which looks something like this. Although pyramid schemes are in fact illegal, they do share a lot of similarities to MLMs, which look something like this. The main difference being pyramid schemes are traditionally recruitment based, while MLMs also have products. So it is a lot trickier these days to distinguish a legitimate product-based company from a pyramid scheme. And just because something is legal does not make it ethical. Child marriage is legal in 44 states, and that's not ethical. Also, just because something is legal now doesn't mean it always will be. The FTC has been cracking down on MLMs in recent years, and many have successfully been sued due to literally being a pyramid scheme. These cases include Arbonne, who settled their lawsuit in 2017, Herbalife, who was forced to restructure their entire business and pay over $200 million in refunds to their customers, and most notably LuLaRoe, who was sued by Washington State in 2019. A documentary called LuLaRich came out, which I highly recommend. It's fascinating, as I remember the LuLaRoe legging craze, and I still own a pair of their leggings to this day. Mine have lasted, thankfully. I got a good batch, I guess. One argument I hear for people saying that their particular MLM is not a pyramid scheme is that corporations follow this same pyramid triangle. So every job is actually a pyramid scheme, except this handy dandy chart explains how the money flow works and makes that argument null and void. According to the FTC, 99% of MLM recruits lose money. That is a higher percentage than people who lose at gambling, which is 97%. You have a better chance of walking into a casino and coming out with more money than you do working for an MLM. That doesn't happen in a corporate job. Maybe it sucks, maybe you're not paid enough, but you are getting paid, either salary or by the hour. This is not guaranteed in an MLM. So while the odds are against you, your upline is often telling you that it's all about your mindset. And the reason those people don't succeed is because they don't want to. Not because the system is set up for you to fail. They make you feel shitty about being a failure instead of questioning the business model that they proclaim to be the perfect business model that you're just not trying very hard in. This sounded very familiar to me. When you grow up in the Christian worldview, you are a sinner. You are naturally a terrible person who needs saving. And Jesus Christ is the only way that you can be saved. And once you accept that, you will be happy. So if you're not happy happy in Christianity, it's not the religion's fault. It's because you need to try harder and work on your relationship with Jesus Christ. It's always turned back on you and not whatever church you happen to be a part of. If you're a believing Christian and it works for you and it makes you happy, that's great. If your friend tells you Christianity doesn't work for them and it doesn't make them happy, and you tell them they're just doing it wrong, that's shitty. You're a shitty friend. One thing I don't understand about religions, especially in Christianity, is the need to convert everyone else around them, as if their salvation depends on it. It doesn't. According to most theology, you can still get into heaven without having converted a single soul. So why is everyone so pushy about it? And if MLMers are so adamant that their sales are not based on recruiting, why do they want to recruit you so badly? Am I comparing Christianity to a pyramid scheme? Yes. Yes, I am. Both claim to be one thing while turning out to be something entirely different. I grew up LDS, aka Mormon, and I was taught that my religion was the one true way to happiness. Everyone else was just faking it. They didn't even know they were faking it. That's how good the devil is at deceiving them. So the idea of missionary work is understood as you are helping these people. These people need guidance, they need Jesus, and they need Mormonism in their lives. Not only for their eternal happiness, but for their temporal happiness as well. And in an MLM, recruiters will tell you that anyone can make money. It's super easy to do it as long as you're willing to put in the work. And if you're not making money, you're doing it wrong. The MLM model doesn't suck, you suck. This is one of the reasons I think Christian women get pulled into this type of logic, because they've been raised in it. They are told that their religion is the true religion and it will work for everyone. So that's why you need to tell everyone about it. Shout it from the rooftops, ignore the naysayers, because they just want to see you fail. So don't listen to the people in your life who tell you not to join an MLM, because you don't need that kind of negativity in their life and they're not really your friends. Do I want my friends that are in MLMs to fail? No. That's why I want them to get out. It is guaranteed you will not only not make money, but you will lose money. An MLM is structured so poorly that it only benefits those at the top. Which brings me to tithing. I'm not as familiar to other Christian sects as to what they require as far as tithing goes. From my knowledge, in most Christian churches, it is optional. Your spiritual worthiness doesn't depend on whether or not you're giving the church money. Not in the LDS church. Tithing is a requirement to be in good standing and to get a temple recommend. And you need a temple recommend to participate in the temple covenants, which guarantee you the highest spot in the celestial kingdom. You cannot get to heaven without making certain covenants. And you cannot make those certain covenants without paying tithing. You even meet the bishop once a year in what's called a tithing settlement meeting, where they make sure that every single penny you owe to the church, to Jesus, is paid up. So for most of my life, I gave 10% of my income even when I could not afford to. Having that extra money would have gone to groceries, rent, better living conditions, and yet I made that sacrifice because I was told it was better to starve to death than to not pay my tithing.
If a destitute family is faced with the decision of paying their tithing or eating, they should pay their tithing.
Yeah. And as far as where that money goes, we don't know for sure. The Mormon Church has not released their financial reports for 64 years. Instead, they tell you at General Conference that all is well, the money is being spent wisely, God signed off on all their checks, and not to worry about it. But we still have a pretty good idea of where this money is going. It is being invested into the stock market, it's being used to build shopping malls, it's used to pay the general authorities six-figure salaries, and it's used to build lavish temples in impoverished cities. Because that's what Jesus would have wanted. Do you remember when he stormed into the temple and shouted,
"Why aren't there more chandeliers in here?"
Wait, that's not what happened. He was mad people were making money in the temple, that's right. Which the church does today. In LDS temples, there are cafeterias where you pay for the food, and if you don't have temple clothing, you can rent those. 10% tithing wasn't enough. Give us more money. Give me it. Give me it. Utah is the epicenter of MLMs. Mormons and MLMs are like this. They're used to powerful leaders making all the money, telling you to give them that money, and it'll somehow benefit you also, and just not questioning it. Some famous MLM companies are doTERRA, Unique, New Skin, Saint, Stampin' Up. They're everywhere. You literally cannot escape them. And I looked it up, and every single one of the founders of those companies I just mentioned are Mormon. And although not based in Utah, the owners of the now defamed LuLaRoe, Deanne and Mark, are also very proudly Mormon. But how do their religious practices affect the way that they do business, I would love to tell you. One great example of this is the very Utah and very Mormon-based MLM Young Living, founded in 1993 by Gary Young. It's similar to doTERRA, which was founded in 2008, in that they both sell essential oils using a multi-level marketing model. Young Living, in fact, sued doTERRA in 2012, alleging that the founders of doTERRA, previous Young Living executives, had breached their contract and had used trade secrets when starting doTERRA. The judge found that this was not the case, and in 2018, Young Living was ordered to pay doTERRA over $2 million in legal fees. This case is important because both Gary Young and his wife Mary Young were required to testify in court, and those transcripts were only released last year, and they revealed a lot. Gary Young is the one who coined Young Living's seed to seal process, which you can remarkably still find on their website today. Seed to seal means they claim to have control over every aspect of the distillation process, from planting the seed to sealing it in the bottle. This implies sort of a hands-on, mom, pa are tending to the horses, Sally and Billy are working the fields. Very family-owned approach, except it turns out this is a lie. David Sterling, the former COO of Young Living, testified in court that less than 1% of Young Living's oils came from their farms. Mary Young testified this as well, saying that the majority of their oils were not produced from their farms. There is a Young Living lavender farm in Mona, Utah, which is actually not too far from where I live. You'll see it all over their advertising, all over their website, but it's just a marketing tactic. It's a real farm you can visit, but it does not represent where most of their oils come from. It turns out not only are they importing their oils from farms overseas, but from brokers as well. And brokers are not farms and have no control over the farming process. So their seed to seal claim is a gimmick. It's not real. They sell the same essential oils as doTERRA and other retailers do, while claiming to have higher and more pure standards. What does this have to do with Mormons? Well, first of all, because it's a farce. It's a fantasy. They pretend to be better than the competition when they're just like everybody else. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints pretends to be the best church, the better church, and they are literally just like any other church around the corner. And two, because Gary Young was a very devout Mormon. And I say was because he sadly passed away from cancer in 2018, the same illness he used to claim his essential oils could cure and prevent. According to an article from Business Insider, after his death in Salt Lake City in May 2018, Mary announced to the world that he had succumbed to complications from a series of strokes. But according to Sean Young, his son from his first marriage, Young died of cancer. In the months leading up to his death, Mary lied about his health improving as he grew sicker, Sean and his brother Matthew said. As a result, they never got to say goodbye. Mary is such a shady person that she would rob us of the opportunity of being with our dad the last few moments, he told Insider. I think she lied to the public because of the way they claimed Young Living can fix everything. She was worried it would ruin Young Living. So according to his sons, Gary Young's reputation and company was more important to him than his own family. Mary was so protective of his image that she was willing to lie to the world and his own children about his illness. If Young Living customers found out that Gary died of cancer, the very thing they thought their oils were preventing, they would lose their business. The need to protect someone's reputation over anything else obviously resonates with me. That's a very LDS thing to do, in my opinion. Gary Young had an ego through the roof. He continuously made up claims that were unsubstantiated. He had created a lot of mess throughout his life, including pretending to be a doctor and practicing on patients without a medical license, something he went to jail for. According to a former employee, he is just full-on lying, the person said. Young was extremely charismatic, the source said, but he was just kind of full of shit, to be honest. I liked him personally, but he was just a snake oil salesman. His business was not necessarily built around essential oils, but around him. People bought into the words he was saying, and him as a person, not necessarily the business. Who does this remind you of? The way the Mormon church was built for men like this becomes more evident to me every day. A church created by a cult leader begets cult leaders. Who knew? In a statement to Business Insider, Young Living's representative said, Young Living disputes many of these claims as outdated, misleading, or exaggerated. These allegations simply do not reflect the company that Young Living has evolved to be today, instead referring to events that that happened years or even decades ago to provide an inaccurate and sensationalized view of young living. We are saddened that past events and actions by the company founder, who is now deceased, are being dredged up and mischaracterized. We see many of the points in this article as irrelevant and outdated and not reflective of young living as it is today. They took a page right out of the Mormon Apologist Handbook. They apologized for nothing. They tried to separate themselves from the very person who created their organization. And anything bad you've ever heard about Joseph Smith, Gary Young, is probably lies. Do your research. Well, I did my research and I found some more stuff. His wife Mary wrote a foreword to a book titled My Words Made Flesh by Robert Stevens, and it's essentially about how you can heal yourself through words. In the foreword, she writes, "I cannot count the number of times I heard Gary say that the most physical ailments and impairments begin in the emotional recesses of the mind, which is also where the foundation of physical and emotional healing begins by projecting a positive attitude with the words we speak and the nutrition we put into our bodies." Now, where could he have gotten that idea? That we could just heal our sicknesses if we thought about it hard enough? The LDS Church has their own particular brand of healing practices, including the use of oil. Priesthood leaders use what is called consecrated oil, and they anoint it on a person's head before a blessing. It's probably good for your scalp, but it's essentially just olive oil that a priesthood leader has prayed over. Sometimes you'll see Mormon men carry around a little vial on their keychains or a necklace or something just to have it on hand. Not the women though. No touchy. I have received these blessings when I was sick, and the oil is typically only used if you are really sick, and as far as I understand, it's just an extra step in the blessing process to be like extra blessed. But does this mean that the church does not believe in modern medicine? Not quite. In a talk called Healing the Sick in April 2010, Dallin Oaks, aka the next prophet in line for the church, said, "The use of medical science is not at odds with our prayers of faith and our reliance on priesthood blessings. Of course, we don't wait until all other methods are exhausted before we pray in faith or give priesthood blessings for healing. In emergencies, prayers and blessings come first. We know that the prayer of faith uttered alone or in our homes or places of worship can be effective to heal the sick." So the church is not anti-science, but prayer is also an effective tool. He then quotes past prophet Spencer Kimball. "The need of faith is often underestimated. The ill one and the family often seem to depend wholly on the power of the priesthood and the gift of healing that they hope the administering brethren may have, whereas the greater responsibility is with him who is blessed. The major element is the faith of the individual when the person is conscious and accountable. Thy faith hath made thee whole." So this is the part I have an issue with. To say that the reason someone did not get better after a blessing is possibly because they didn't have enough faith is so manipulative and gross, but they have to say this because getting a priesthood blessing is not a guarantee that you'll get better. It's a crapshoot. Sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. And we don't know because at the end of the day, it's up to God. Oakes says, "The Lord's promise is that he that hath faith in me to be healed and is not appointed unto death shall be healed. From all this we learn that even the servants of the Lord, exercising his divine power in a circumstance where there is sufficient faith to be healed, cannot give a priesthood blessing that will cause a person to be healed if that healing is not the will of the Lord." Everything in Christianity comes down to God works in mysterious ways. This is the big answer to all of life's questions. We don't know. We don't know why people get sick and die, but if they get better, it was God. And if they don't get better and they pass away, that was also God. Everything is evidence of God, good or bad. But God may be punishing you because you didn't have enough faith to be healed. So it's a little bit your fault too. Now, as I was doing my research for this, I was getting a little heated, but I couldn't figure out why. What does this lying weirdo have to do with me personally? And then it hit me. My family was very much into essential oils growing up, and all of this stemmed from my grandparents. They always had an oil being distilled in their house and it smelled really good anytime you went in, and they were very much into any natural method of healing. My grandpa would use magnets as a healing tool of some sorts, and my grandma drank her own pee at one point. Like, they were pretty far on the spectrum. And my grandpa was a physician, but he was definitely more on the homeopathic side of medical practices. And then in 2016, my sweet Grammy passed away. It was due to a number of ailments, including liver disease. Yes, she was old, but she was only in her 70s, and she could have had another good 20 years ahead of her, like her mom did before her. I am not saying that essential oils are what did my grandma in. I'm not saying that. But I feel like I got a front row seat to the risks of subscribing to strictly alternative medicine practices that have no scientific basis. My other set of grandparents who are very much alive and healthy eat Taco Bell every day and have diet sodas in their fridge. Health is very complicated and is a mixture of genetics and circumstances. It just pisses me off beyond belief when people think of anything as a cure-all, especially when there's no evidence to back it up. If it works for you, that is so cool. But just like one religion is not going to work for everyone, one essential oil or one supplement you shove up your butt is not going to work for everyone either. I used to be a big fan of lavender oil, but I learned that lavender oil was poisonous to cats. So I got paranoid about using it and just stopped using it altogether. And essential oils can be great for aromatherapy and stress, but they do not prevent most diseases, according to science. A lot of health-related MLM companies claim to have the only product in the world that you need to cure XYZ. And they hype it up and they overprice it and they get you to shill it to your friends and family. And it turns out to be a huge nothing burger. That's how I feel about Christianity in general, and obviously the LDS Church. They claim to have the only thing that's going to work for you and make you happy, when religion is not a one-size-fits-all. I believe you should be able to practice your religion freely, but if your religious beliefs are harming other people, that's a different story. They say, by their fruits you shall know them, and I've been looking very closely at these fruits, and y'all fruits stank. Thank you for watching my entire video. If you aren't subscribed yet, what are you doing? I talk about Mormonism, Christianity, and things adjacent to that. My channel is not yet monetized, so if you would like to tip me, my Venmo is below. Say goodbye, Trixie and Rexy, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!